Today we're opening up the legendary 5D's decks. So this is the 5th product in the legendary decks line, so naturally it's the 5D's, and it includes cards from, as you can probably see here, Akiza, Yusei, and Crow, including 8 new Yusei cards, which is pretty crazy. I'm rocking the Akiza Black Rose mat today because in here we actually have 3 chibi artwork synchro cards for these 3 characters, of course, and one of them is this very Black Rose dragon, so we'll see that in this set. Inside here you get 3 complete decks based on these characters, as well as a bunch of generic cards that are good in the modern TCG format. Let's open this up and take a look at what it has to offer. Alright, so here we have our 3 different decks: Synchrons, Blackwings, and Plants. Now the Synchron deck, like I said, gets 8 new cards, so there's a lot of new stuff going on in there. The Plant deck just got support out of Doom of Dimensions. There's all sorts of Black Rose support in that pack, which is pretty cool, so you can combine those cards with this one. And then the Blackwing deck is going to have all sorts of Blackwings throughout history, including ones from like Darkwing Blast not too long ago. But I will say before that, let's look at the promo cards. So, like I said, you get chibi versions of 3 synchros. You can see the first one there is Stardust Dragon, and of course we are going to have a Black Rose too. So you get Stardust Dragon, Secret Rare Chibi. I kind of like that one. I like the chibi artworks. I think they're cute. Skull Servant especially, MVP. Black Rose Dragon, so that is the one that I have on the mat there. Very, very cool. I like the secret rare foiling on these. We also have Black Winged Dragon. I used to have a ghost rare of this way back in the day. Also, there are 3 tokens in this set with chibi versions of Yusei, Akiza, and Crow to go alongside those chibi dragon cards. Let's take a look at the Yusei deck first, and we're starting off strong with Full Speed Warrior, an upgraded form of Speed Warrior. You'll notice with pretty much all of these cards that they're upgraded forms of a lot of the older Yusei monsters, so we'll see that as we go along. Full Speed Warrior is a searcher. It either adds Junk Synchron or a spell trap that mentions Junk Warrior from your deck to your hand. Pretty straightforward, and you'll see here that we do get a really powerful spell card that mentions Junk Warrior in its text, which you can add with this. We also have Scrap Synchron. So this can be used as any Synchron for a Synchro Summon, which is really nice, kind of like a Quick Draw Synchron, and it can be used from the hand for a Synchro Summon, kind of like Revolution Synchron from a little while ago. We also have Synchro Fellowship. So this is very similar to a lot of new cards they've been doing this with. It is a double search that then discards a card. You are adding a Junk Synchron and a monster that mentions Junk Warrior or Stardust Dragon from your deck to your hand. Then it additionally gives you an extra normal summon, which is great, and it reduces a synchro to do that extra normal summon, so you can kind of modulate levels in a way that facilitates your bigger plays. Synchro Fellowship is an incredibly strong card, and it really ties the entire deck together. Junk Warrior Extreme is a big finisher for this deck. On summon, it revives a bunch of level 2 monsters from your graveyard, and then you are only allowed to special summon just one more time that turn. This is a card that you're not really using at the start of your combo, but rather to close out games, and it's pretty darn good at that. So that is a new level 8 Junk Warrior retrain. Next we have Scrap Warrior, a new level 3 synchro monster with 2 solid effects. The first effect protects your Junk Warrior and synchro monsters with Warrior in their name by preventing your opponent from negating their activated effects. The second effect gives you an add or a send from a deck for either Junk Synchron or a card that mentions Junk Warrior. We also have Anchor Bolt Hedgehog, a card that you might be sending with the Scrap Warrior to the graveyard because it does mention Junk Warrior, and this works kind of like the old Quill Bolt Hedgehog, which is obviously what this is based on, but it's essentially a free special summon from your graveyard if you control a Junk Warrior or a monster that mentions it. Next we have a new Sonic Chick retrain, Crossroad Sonic Chick. So this is basically a free special summonable non-tuner monster. If this card is in your graveyard and a tuner is sent to your graveyard, you can then special summon it for free. Additionally, if you have a Junk Warrior on the board and or a monster that mentions it, you get to turn your opponent's monsters to defense position if they have 1900 or more attack. A nice little throwback to the original Sonic Chick effect. Next, we have One Way Synchro that either adds or special summons a level 1 tuner from your deck or graveyard. And then it has an effect that allows you to reset it so that you can use it again, kind of like a lost Frostwind. So those were the 8 new cards in the Yusei deck. That was a lot. Let's take a look at the reprints. We have Junk Synchron, 2 copies of that. Wheel Synchron, Stardust Synchron. This is a fun one. I've used this in a lot of different videos just as a cool tuner that can special summon itself. We have 3 copies of Stardust Synchron. That's nice. We have Revolution Synchron. I was just talking about this with the new Scrap Synchron. This is another monster that you can use in your hand for a Synchro Summon. Satellite Synchron. That's a nice one. Satellite Warrior, obviously very strong. Assault Synchron. So you're basically getting like all of these. I mean, Jet Synchron, Junk Converter again, 3 Junk Converter. I was about to say, that'd be a nice one to get 3 of. Doppel Warrior. I mean, the classic play. Doppel and Junk Synchron. Holy. Effect Veiler. Of course, 2 Effect Veiler. This is not only just a good generic card, of course. I mean, Yusei didn't play Ash Blossom, but Yusei literally did play Effect Veiler. A lot of people forget that this is a Yusei card. That's kind of fun. We have Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, though. Molcharmy Perulia. And you'll see here, this is not the only Molcharmy in this set. On your mark, get set, duel, 2 copies of those. Tuning, 2 copies or 3 copies? 3 copies, and 1 is the new alternate artwork with Junk Synchron. Duelist Genesis, which is not only, you know, this card, but also the name of the set that introduced Synchros into the TCG. Synchro Rumble, probably familiar with this card if you've seen a lot of like the Crimson Dragon combos. Clashing Souls, Scrap Fist, 1 for 1. I mean, of course, there's going to be 1 for 1. Scrapyard. So historically, you know, this adds a Scrap Tuner. You might be grabbing Scrap Raptor. That's a pretty common one. Or if you're, you know, an old school player, maybe Scrap Beast. But yes, Scrapyard can grab that Scrap Synchron, which is cool as well. We have Called by the Grave, of course. Cross out Designator. Got to make sure your plays go through. Forbidden Droplet. So as you can see here, like we have real, legitimate cards that have been played competitively and are currently seen played competitively out of here. It is not just nostalgia with these 3 anime characters. These are decks that are designed to actually help you build a playable strategy. We also have Synchro Zone, Infinite Impermanence, of course. And for the extra deck stuff, we have Junk Warrior. This is the alternative artwork. I believe this is a pose from either the anime or the manga or both. We have Junk Speeder, probably one of the most powerful cards in the Yusei arsenal. This card special summons a whole bunch of monsters from your deck and really starts your combos. It is just very, very strong. We have Stardust Dragon, as you would expect, as well as Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. Formula Synchron, get some free draws there. Stardust Warrior, a powerful boss monster to go into with your Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. It is a card that can negate summons, which is very powerful. Shooting Star Dragon, the classic, and Crimson Dragon is included in here, which allows you to add that Synchro Rumble to your hand if you would like to. So a pretty good extra deck with a lot of variety of different levels and cards that you can go into with your Synchrons. All right, so here is the Akiza deck, and like I mentioned in Doom of Dimensions, there are some plant support cards, such as Rage Rose Witch, but also possibly the biggest one is Bramble Rose Dragon, a new Black Rose Dragon retrain. So make sure to add that to these cards if you're trying to build a more complete Rose Dragon deck. But I think this should have almost everything else that you need. So we have Miracle Fertilizer, Black Garden, Basil Rose Shoot, Blooming of the Darkest Rose. I'm a big fan of these Black Rose Dragon cards. I like Black Rose Dragon a lot. We have Empress of Blossoms, 3 copies of Lone Fire Blossom. I mean, this is the plant support card. Witch of the Black Rose, Spore, Rose Lover, Blue Rose Dragon. I remember pulling that way back in the day. We have Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, 2 copies of that. Not only good as an interaction for your opponent, but also as a tuner. Red Rose Dragon, couple copies of those, 3 copies of the Red Rose Dragon. White Rose Dragon, once again, we got play sets of these cards. You don't normally find that in like regular decks, but in these legendary decks, that's kind of what they're going to be packing. We have Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, Rose Princess, Rose Girl, Rocks Rose Dragon. Yeah, I would imagine multiple copies of the Rocks Rose Dragon, so that's kind of nice. So 3 copies of like all the important Rose Dragons. That's cool. Ruddy Rose Witch, 3 copies of that. Molcharmy Meowls. Okay, Molcharmy Meowls. This is a hot take. This is the best Molcharmy artwork, right? I mean, look at it. It's a cat. It's adorable. Let me know in the comments which one you're feeling. But this is the best one, in my opinion. But we have Molcharmy Meowth, very, very solid card. So you're also going to see, I'll give you a spoiler, Fuwalos is in the Crow deck. So you do get all 3 of them in this one set. You have Monster Reborn, Terraforming, another Miracle Fertilizer, another Blackguard, and these cards are like important to have multiple copies. That's why those are in there. Fragrant Storm, not only a fun card for you if you're playing a plant deck, but also if you happen to play against a plant deck, this card is hilarious because you can pop their plant monster and then draw a card still. That's kind of fun. Thorn of Malice, Frozen Rose, White Rose Cloister? Cluster? What is that word? It must mean something. Maybe I need to talk to a botanist. We have Basil Roseshoot once again. Infinite Impermanence. So 2 Infinite Impermanence so far. 3 Infinite Impermanence so far. Okay. I got jump scared. 2 in this one. 1 in the Yusei deck. See? I mean, 3 total copy. It's just crazy. Black Rose Dragon. Splendid Rose. Gosh, that is an old card. I don't know if I've ever seen this in not like the original print. That's cool. Black Rose Moonlit Dragon, not only good in this, of course, but also a card that they used to summon in Blue Eyes back in the day. Garden Rose Maiden, which adds the Black Garden from your deck to your hand. We also have Crossrose Dragon. I love this one. Has all sorts of roses in the artwork, as the name would imply. 2 copies of Crossrose. A Ruddy Rose Dragon. Very cool. 2 copies of that. I actually remember trying this card out in Sword Soul when it first released. It's just a good generic level 10 synchro. It's not only good in the Rose Dragon deck. And, of course, Garden Rose Flora to round out the Akiza deck. So pretty cool cards in there. And once again, we're seeing basically, you know, all the cards you would need for a Rose Dragon deck. And then if you go between the different decks in this set, you can build like a deck that has all sorts of interactions with the opponent that are generic, not just like Rose Dragon cards, which I like. Finally, we have the Crow deck with Vayu, the Emblem of Honor, on the front, a very good card, and one that doesn't have a ton of reprints, so that is actually pretty welcome. And this is going to have Blackwing support from the last 15 plus years, so we have all sorts of cards. Blackwings have gotten more support than almost any other theme. There are so many Blackwing monsters, so we're kind of going to have a history lesson as we go through here. But first, we have Vayu, the Emblem of Honor. Icarus Attack, classic Winged Beast support card. Blackbird Close. Blackwing Armor Master. That looks pretty nice. Very cool. And Blackwing Nothing the Starlight, your extra normal summon and burn card. We have Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. Bora the Spear. Droll and Lockbird. You know, it does have a bird. It does have a bird. 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Gosh, you get so many staples in this. Blackwing Chris the Crack of Dawn. Sharnaga, the Waning Moon. Just, you know, all the Blackwing cards, so many of them just say special summon this card for free. We've just passed several of them that do that. We have Orochi, the Squall. Harmattan, the Dust. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. So in here, you get a playset of Ash and Infinite Impermanence. I mean, it's good. And all the Charmies, you get 1 copy of each of those. It is just crazy. Simone, the Poison Wind. 2 copies of that, maybe 3. We do get 3. This is like the most important card for starting off your plays. Gets you access to the Black Whirlwind and triggers it immediately. Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. A lot of Ghost Girls in this set. Vata, the Emblem of Wandering. Vayu did get a new fit. Make sure to check him out. Make sure to compliment him on that because boy, did that fit change his effect. This card is very important in the modern Blackwing strategy. We have Shamal, the Sandstorm. Couple copies, 3 copies of that one. Yeah, you can really see in these decks, they're going to give you 3 copies of the most important cards. We have Blackwing Chinook, the Snowblast. 3 copies of that one. Very cool. Sudri, the Phantom Glimmer, which I believe should have multiple copies. Yes. Molcharmy Fuwalos, I gave you a heads up. It is a winged beast, so it does make sense that it's in Crow's deck. And yeah, so 1 of each Molcharmy out of this set. We have Mystical Space Typhoon, Book of Moon. Of course, you know, couple copies, I'm sure, of Black Whirlwind. Forbidden Chalice, Called by the Grave once again, so you actually do get 2 of these in here. Black Feather Whirlwind. Couple copies of that, I'm sure. Yep, 2 copies of that one. Delta Crow Anti-Reverse, fun card for blowing up spell and traps. Blackwing Twin Shadow. Blackwing Armed Wing, very good card with value. Blackwing Silverwind the Ascendant. This card used to be incredibly difficult to pick up. It only had a couple prints, so it's very nice that it's getting another reprint out of this one. Blackwinged Dragon. Blackwing Full Armor Master. We've all struggled to deal with this card in the past. A lot of decks just cannot out that. Blackwinged Assault Dragon, of course. 2 copies of that one. That is the Darkwing Blast cover card. Blackwing Boray Storm, the Wicked Wind. 2 copies of that to round things out. So there you have it. The legendary 5D's decks. 3 complete strategies with a number of themed cards as well as generic cards that are useful in all sorts of different strategies. Let me know in the comments which one of these decks you're most excited to try out. Personally, I'm a little bit biased towards Black Rose Dragon. I've always been a fan of that card, but I like the new Synchron cards as well. Let me know in the comments though. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. The legendary 5D's decks will be available in stores soon, so make sure to stay tuned. Thanks for watching though. I'll catch you guys later.